So I just ripped into Honkai Star Rail. You thought Wuthering Waves was gonna get a pass? Wrong. Oh yeah, this guy's gonna be hard on Wuthering Waves. Have you seen his channel? He's a total Kuro bot. You guys clearly don't know me. Time to burn my bridge with Kuro, I guess. So let's get into it. So just how much of a Kuro bot am I? Well, I've been playing since launch and I have two accounts. One at Union level 75 and the other at level 74. With both accounts combined, I have every limited weapon and character. What about Ling Yang? Oh, excuse me, sorry, my mistake. I meant every character that matters. Even before launch, I was really looking forward to exploring this post-apocalyptic wasteland. It set itself apart from the other open-world action RPGs that were out there or that had been announced. I was excited to see a more mature take on the genre. A gritty world battling against monsters that could take you out at any moment if you weren't careful. I was particularly happy with the variety of characters, both male and female. They were incredibly well designed and I was glad to see how many badass looking men there were too. They were so cool, I wanted to play all of them. Well, almost all of them. I'll stop bullying him now, I promise. My problems with Wuthering Waves started from the very beginning, like practically the first line I heard in English from Yang Yang.
Are you alright? Do you feel any discomfort?
Okay, so I know I'm not the first person to complain about this, and I doubt I'll be the last. But seriously, did the VA have absolutely no direction in her voice acting? Listening back to it, she sounds like an alien pretending to be human.
Please, Commander, you are our last hope.
Not only that, it was very clear that she was struggling with her voice lines, particularly to do with the names of things.
This is the statue of Jue, the sentinel in Zhenzhou, in the shape of a long.
One particular word she said sounded the same.
Huang Long, Huang Long, Huang Long, Huang Long.
I was sure they used the exact same clip and just forcibly inserted it after the fact. I actually compared the waveforms, and even though they did sound very similar, they weren't in fact the same. So I guess she just naturally sounds like a robot.
We are in the Gorge of Spirits. It's on the outskirts of Zhenzhou, Huang Long.
These odd line reads felt unnatural, like she was going to say something more. Like that. Didn't sound natural, did it? I heard that they redid some of these early lines, but at the time of recording this video, she still sounded as unnatural as on launch day. Changing to Japanese quickly solved that problem, so it wasn't too much of a problem for me, though to be honest, I can't entirely blame her. A lot of the names in this game are difficult for anyone not familiar in the Chinese language to pronounce. And even in Japanese, the kanji being used for the names is somewhat obscure. So without furigana, Japanese players had absolutely no idea how to read certain names. Even the name of the game itself went misread for a long time as Narushio, and I think that's what frustrated a lot of the new players. It's not so much that there was too much new jargon in general, but a lot of the new stuff which wasn't jargon sounded like jargon because they were putting everything through this Chinese nomenclature. I never really had that issue with the opening acts, so I took a look into to see what was being said. Tacit Discord, monster. Tacit Field, monster area. Tacit Mark, black thing on your skin. Etheric Sea, thing up in the sky. Wave 1 phenomena. Yeah, okay, this one was a bit of a miss. Retroact Rain wasn't important at the time but got explained in detail later. Sonorosphere, Portal, Thronodian, big bad boss monster. So putting aside the Chinese names, there was a total of about 10 pieces of new jargon that we had to learn, and a lot of it was kind of self-explanatory. But I definitely understand those who were trying to follow and memorize all the new names of everything and were getting confused. I get it, I really do. You're not wrong for feeling that way, I just personally didn't have that particular issue. Anyway, we continue through the story, meet Baija, Wood, and I liked how it eased the player into the combat. And if there's one thing that Wuthering Waves does really well, it's the combat. I still remember my first time fighting Crownless feeling like an absolute badass, pulling off all those dodges, counters, and perfect parries. And when the second phase starts, the amazing guitar riff comes in and you're pulling off these really clean cinematic finishing moves. Oh, it just felt so good. Whatever happened to those? We never do this ever again when fighting Crownless or any boss monsters. It would have been really cool to have a particular finishing move for each boss depending on if certain conditions were met. I'm sure it would have been difficult to animate finishers for each character, but honestly, I would have been fine if it was just for the MC alone. A little something to make them special. They are the MC after all. Then we continue on to what I think is the weakest part of 1.0, the fucking treasure hunt. So we meet Sanhua, Wood, and she gives us some items from Jinshi, a sugar pearl, a leaf, a mangosteen fruit, and a sundial. Okay, so like I said, I have two accounts, and both times I played through this part of the story quest, I was left thinking, what was the point of that? We were told to go out and find what the meaning behind these items is, but in the end, we weren't even the ones to find out most of the information. The sugar pearl, Baija finds out off screen. Sundial, Mortifi fixes it. And the leaf, Baija and Yang Yang just tell us. 3 out of 4 things were done for us, and the 4th thing was just us going to a harbor to be told that they get imported. Okay. Apparently that was supposed to tell us how the people of Jinchou lived or something. And at the end of it all, when we asked to find out what the point of it all was, Jinshi says,
"An emergency forced me to leave, and I only had the time to prepare some tokens for you."
Translation?
I don't even have time to explain why I don't have time to explain.
So she had the time to get all these very specific items to give to Rover, but she didn't have the time to write a damn fucking sticky note? Come on, you just don't get it. She had to do that to test Rover. It was for Rover to discover things about himself while looking into those things. Yeah, and we learned those things from books and people, not from those items themselves, did we? Sorry, but no. In the end, it was basically, you've forgotten everything, so go to the library and study up, scrub. I'll say this though, even though the actual stuff being said was kind of stupid at times, I really enjoyed listening to the story play out. There weren't many weird dead spaces between dialogues. There was a good amount of changes in camera angles, camera movement, as well as the movement and facial expressions on the characters themselves that sounded like real people actually interacting with each other, in Japanese anyway. Sorry, I'm sure she's a lovely woman and all, but can you replace her with someone that doesn't sound like she's just recently had a lobotomy? The only thing I wish I could do is put it on auto, hide the UI, and have it automatically select the dialogue options for me. Oh, on that point, stop giving us choices that aren't choices. Jesus Christ. Unless it actually has some degree of effect on how the conversation plays out, literally nobody liked this shit. It doesn't make us feel like we are actually the character. It doesn't help us feel more immersed in the story. If anything, it pulls us out of the story to have to go through this unnecessary attention check. It feels like I'm watching a long YouTube video and I get a message asking if I'm still watching. I'm trying to watch a 10-hour loop of the Burness dance here. Do you mind? Actually, no. Now that I think about it, it's even worse than that. It feels like when someone asks your opinion on what they should do, you give your opinion and they just completely ignore you. I guess I'll just go fuck myself then. This isn't a Wuthering Waves only problem either. It's something that I have always and will always rage against whenever I see it, in every game I play. Please, for the love of God, just stop it. These useless dialogue options were especially annoying later on when we meet up with Jian. He brings us into the war room to talk about strategies, or rather he just asks us what we think the strategy should be, but if we don't choose the right one, the game says,
Isn't that cute? But it's wrong!
Time out. Why were we being asked to decide the strategy in the first place? You're the general here, Jian. You decide. But anyway, putting that aside, they should just get rid of these dialogue options entirely. Oh wait, no, actually, better yet, have them actually, make a difference. Imagine if we were actually able to decide which forces went where. This could have been a great chance to keep the game easy for the casual players, but make it more difficult for the ones who want a challenge. Each dialogue option could have a little note next to it saying simple, moderate, and tricky, for the player to understand what they were choosing. And after that, the route, monsters, and difficulty changes depending on that choice. Why can't we have done that? We're ending at the same place anyway. This was one of the main criticisms from CBT to official release, wasn't it? The casuals wanted things to be easier and simpler, and the hardcore players wanted things to be more difficult and complex. Why not turn something that everybody hates into something that everybody loves? Make these the points in the story where the player can choose what level of difficulty they want to try. So a casual player can stick with the easy mode or try the intermediate or hard levels every now and then, and the hardcore players could get the difficulty they want, but make it easier if they're not in the mood that day or something. You don't need to turn it into a Telltales game. That's not what I'm asking for. Have your main plot points, but in certain sections have detours for the players to choose their level of difficulty. Sure, everyone winds up at the same place in the end, so it doesn't really change anything as a whole, but allowing players to choose their own experience at least lets us feel like we're making a difference. Doing something like this could satisfy players of all difficulties, easily. After deciding the battle plans, we meet up with the other characters to storm into battle. Verena, Chixia, there's us, the rover, Taochi, we just met her, Yang Yang, Ling Yang is in the corner there. Who the fuck is this dude? Like, I know it's Yuan Wu, the guy who looks like the last boss of both Discord mods and Redditors, but we have never seen this guy in the story or even in the side stories like Ling Yang. Why the hell is he showing up for this Avengers Assemble moment? I feel bad for the voice actor. He gets brought in for literally one line and then never used again.
I will keep everyone safe.
Even now, up through 1.4, we still have no idea who this guy is, what he does, or anything of the like. Well, I guess one line is better than nothing, I guess. Carpaccio and Danjin are still nowhere to be found at all. And why are you bringing out some random painter girl who has nothing to do with anything, give her her own full story quest, but still not mention anything about the characters you already have? What are you doing? And this leads into one of my biggest fears about the game. I'm afraid that they're going to forget about their older characters, except for a few notable exceptions. I get that the business model of a gacha game is to push new characters to sell to players consistently, but the benefit of that is being able to use these characters to interact with each other to flesh out the story and make everything feel cohesive and real. So bringing out all these new characters is great and all, but if you're not using them and just having us talk to random NPC number 342, it feels like a massive waste. I actually thought we were going to go to the new Federation next. Maybe then they could have used that as an excuse to bring Calculator into the story. But no, we're going to Rene City with a whole slew of new characters for the story to focus around. Don't get me wrong, they look cool. Would. But this is only further feeding my worries about the older characters being forgotten about. But I'll get more into my worries about Renacita later. Since 1.0, the quests have been getting considerably better in my opinion. Definitely not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There are significant pacing issues and missed story beats. I could make full-on videos breaking down what these two particular quests got wrong, but on the whole, they are a lot better. Now, I'll be honest, I don't usually enjoy character story quests, but Jian's story was incredible. Sure, it started off a little rocky with some Gulpuff racing game that no one cared about, but once it kicked in after going through the Sonora Sphere, I loved every moment of it. Going through the past, learning what happened, fighting through the trauma, and then the great boss battle with the fantastic visuals in the final cinematic. Absolute cinema. Yinlin's story quest was fine, not the best, but I didn't hate it. I wish we could have gotten more of the secret agent aspect of her character that was promised instead of this story about a girl with adoptive father issues. But still, she's hot, so would. What I really like about these character story quests isn't just the quest itself, but rather the locations we visit during them. Have you seen these places? These set designs are stunning. It's a shame we can only ever visit them during these one-time only character story quests. What a waste. Why can't we revisit these locations? Better yet, give us the option to replay these quests. How about in this section in the gallery, you add a couple of little replay buttons in the corner. One to replay the cutscene by itself, and another to replay the mission, which could open up a Sonora sphere to travel through to re-experience everything with your current party. They can't do that, it would take too much storage! It's already on your device anyway, whether you revisit it or not. So why not just give us the option to do it? And if storage really is a worry for you, how about this? Give us the option to delete and reinstall past mission voice lines and data to save space. You can do it for the voice packs in general, so surely you can do it for this too. Another thing I have a problem with. How in the hell can a game that has its main theme be about sound have that be one of its most lacking features? There have been a plethora of sound and music related bugs and oversights since launch. Even now when I'm fighting through a tacit field, each time I clear a wave, the battle music restarts from the very beginning. You don't notice it much when your characters aren't leveled, but once you've got a relatively decent Zhang Li Yao and he's digitally shredding through all the mobs, you hear the same 10 seconds of battle music over and over again. And that's not just for the tacit field either. In the overworld, mobs die so easily I never get past the initial build-up, if there even is one. Sorry guys, but the battle music for the Central Plains just isn't good. Especially when it's one of the largest areas in-game, we tend to hear how not good it is all too often. The other overworld battle music is better, yes, but it takes far too long to get to the good part, and by then everything is already dead anyway. The battle music for the bosses are pretty good though, for the most part. But I have a quick question. Why did you nerf your already great songs from CBT? For example, the Impermanence Heron had one of the best boss battle tracks in the game, and I was really looking forward to experiencing it for myself. How shocked was I to find out that not only did they change it from the Heron to one of the worst overworld bosses in the game, but not only that, they completely nerfed the song. What do you mean nerf the song? How do you do that? Here, listen to this. The one that we have now just feels incomplete, like it's missing a piece of the puzzle. Like peanut butter without jelly, yin without yang, KFC without gravy. What do you mean they don't have gravy in Japan? I'm British, I need my chicken covered in brown, salty slop, goddammit! Wait, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the song we have now is a massive downgrade compared to the version that we already had. So I am quite literally saying,
the first draft was better.
I know what happened though. They got feedback saying that the players wanted the combat effects to sound punchier, and they did in fact do that. But the problem was that they could only improve it so much. So what they also did was bring down the impact of a lot of the music to make that difference more distinct. And this all connects back with what I was saying earlier about the other characters and locations not being used. Kuro, you spend all that time designing these great characters, great locations, and great music, but do absolutely nothing with them. From a business perspective, you're basically wasting resources right now. The way to fix these particular issues is give these characters actually some attention, first of all. Let us replay cutscenes and quests, and add a damn CD player with a library of all the music we have unlocked so far. Then we, the players, can choose what we want to listen to in the overworld. Just so we're clear though, I don't think the CD player should be usable during story or character quests because the music is a very important part of the storytelling experience. But in the overworld though, if I want to listen to Crownless's insane guitar riff while zipping around Jinzhou, that's my business. Yes, I know it would take away some of the audio character from the locations, but you know what you can do then? Turn the CD player off? Maybe? Now it's time to address the elephant in the room. Wuthering Waves. Okay, so where do I stand on this? Honestly, I'm not a fan. Now before you come at me with your pitchforks, just hear me out. What I mean is that I already have dozens of other random gacha games with generic cookie cutter OP protagonists that the entire world revolves around and are loved by his harem of beautiful waifus of varying styles and massive personalities. I don't need another. Right now, I think there are 3 different groups out there. Some people see the harem and like it, some people see the harem and don't like it, and there's another smaller group of people that don't see the harem at all. They have some reason or other for each character. Yang Yang, she's just really caring. She cares for everyone like that. Yinlin, she's just a seductress using her looks to get what she wants. Chang Li, she's heard so much about Rover from her master, so to her, it's like meeting a superhero. Shorekeeper, she's just very devoted to the cause. She respects Rover like a father figure. Camellia? She's just interested in Rover because he's strong, nothing more. And the fact of the matter is that these people would be right in thinking that way. Those are all valid interpretations of the characters. However, for those out there that see it as something more or want to see it as something more, there are things in-game which validate their belief that these characters are romantically interested in Rover. Personally, I'm in the see the harem and don't particularly like it category. Sorry, it's just the way I feel. We don't need to have every girl we meet be almost instantly wanting to jump on Rover's tacitite dick as soon as they meet him. On top of that, there's been a significant lack of new male playable characters since launch. And that isn't a problem in itself. If a game marketed itself as primarily having female characters, you would sound like an idiot for asking for more male characters. You don't play Love and Deep Space and complain about the lack of female characters, do you? No, that would sound weird. The problem is though, in 1.0 there were 6 guys and 10 girls to choose from. That's a ratio of 3 to 5. Not equal, but understandable. So many of us were under the assumption that they were going to roughly keep that ratio going forward. They even showed us characters that have a lot of players eager to play them, such as Zippercrotch Boy and Mr. Anal Bead Necklace. Since then, we've had Jinshi, Changli, Jeje, Zhang Liao, Showkeeper, Yohu, Camellia, and now Lumi is coming up. So out of 8 new characters, only one of them is a guy, and he was free. And on top of that, the animations are getting wilder and wilder. How in the hell does Little Miss Itty Bitty Titty Committee over here have more jiggle physics than Changli or Baija? Robin, what do you think?
You grab a man's balls, his heart will follow.
Yeah, that makes sense, but I don't want it in Wuthering Waves. But that's just the way it is in Gacha! Yes, I know, I don't care. Gacha has always had fan service like this. Yes, I know, I don't care. Gacha OPs are always loved by the main cast. Yes, I know, I don't care. So what you're saying is...
You a Taurus? You a Taurus?
Yep.
No! I've been playing gacha games since they first became mainstream here in Japan. I'm talking about Puzzles and Dragons and Monster Strike. You know, the gacha games that actually had a gachapon animation that actually defined the genre. I also have 2,000 login days on Fate Grand Order. Yes, I know I have a problem. Someone please send help, I need it. Please. What I'm saying is, gacha is a monetization system. That's how these games make money. Gacha has absolutely nothing to do with the amount or level of fan service. Even modern titles like Cookie Run Kingdom are gacha games. No fan service there, unless you're jerking off to Blue Slushy, in which case, seek help. Also, would. I'm kidding. I'm not saying I don't like fan service, I just don't want it in this game. At least not this much anyway. Just because I enjoy spring onion in my ramen doesn't mean I want it piled on. Why are all my analogies about food? Am I hungry? We have enough of these Gooner gacha games already. I should know. Those games market themselves as being horny jiggle games meant to be played with one hand. And when I want to play one of those games, I'll go do that. Again, it goes back to marketing and how they present themselves. Any new player might see an ad for Wuthering Waves and think, oh, that looks like a cool combat game, let's check it out. And then when they play it, they have a harem of walking jiggle physics around them at all times. A lot of regular players might get turned off by that, and I don't want that to happen. There are a lot of characters in Wuthering Waves that I think are hot as fuck, but if I wanted to imagine myself giving them crazy backshots, I would just check out Pixiv. And no, I am not advocating for censorship. All I'm saying is that if they and we, the players, want Wuthering Waves to break into the normie barrier, I don't think that many regular people would be comfortable with that level of fan service. So speaking as someone that wants as many people to play this game as possible, I think they should tone things down because it just might be too much for most people. If Kuro Games really wants to go down this way with how they design their characters, that's perfectly fine by me. But to be honest, I don't think they do. Looking at the designs of the initial characters and the story and direction they had in CPT 1, yes, the characters were badass and hot with some fanservice-y jiggle physics, but I think that they also wanted to take this game seriously and not just push out a game for horny players to goon over. Just my opinion though. To be honest, I prefer the dynamic in CPT 1 where Rover wasn't trusted. Think about it. What's more satisfying? Have the characters love you right away, or have them be wary of you, or even hate you, and you slowly win them over to your side through your actions in the story? ReZero is a great example of that. When we start off, Subaru is a whiny little bitch that isn't trusted by anyone, so he needs to grow as a person, and in doing so, he wins over many people to his side, including us, the viewers. Let alone Rem, who is now his biggest simp, and let me remind you, she was literally murdering him every single night when they first met. Murder! They could have used that trust as a vehicle to create more stories and quests in-game. Rover goes on certain quests to do certain things, and in doing so, slowly earns the respect and even admiration of everyone around him. And your interactions with the characters in the world changes as your reputation increases. This could have helped the world feel much more alive and real, no? But no, we went from this to this instead.
You got any other tricks up your sleeve? Like eating a whole tacit Discord?
I heard the reason for this was because the scene community didn't like seeing their OP self-insert being disrespected. Is it true? Don't know. Don't care. My issue is actually with the gacha community and what they've been telling Kuro Games. Mixed messages. You can't say that you want Wuthering Waves to be the Genshin killer by breaking the normie barrier while also continuously asking for things that would turn off that normie base. Of course, there's the niche crowd that don't want any filthy normies to come in and taint their precious waifus. Something get filtered. But I have high hopes that this game would be the first game that breaks the mold and becomes the first gacha to actually take itself seriously. Like how The Dark Knight is a fantastic movie often cited as a great inspiration to many big names in the industry, with Steven Spielberg saying it's deserved the nomination for Best Picture. Until then, comic book movies were ridiculed as a genre with flop after flop at the box office. Sure, there was a hit every now and then, but they were very much comic book movies, because at the end of the day, it is an adaptation of a comic book character that looks kinda goofy when you boil it down. I mean, come on guys, underwear over tights? How is that not goofy? There's a reason that they haven't had that in the live action adaptation since Adam West. And the one time they did kinda have it, it looked goofy as shit. Sorry Batman, you know I love you. But my point is that The Dark Knight is not just a great comic book adaptation of a beloved character, but also stands on its own as a fantastic crime thriller as well. And that's what I want from Wuthering Waves too. I don't want it to follow the same old fanservice tropes that all the other gacha games have. I know this game can be better. I want it to deliver on its promises of a gritty post-apocalypse. I don't just want to be told that things were bad before. I want to feel that desperation and destruction. I want to feel the lament and watch hot, badass anime women and men while doing it. This is what we were promised Wuthering Waves would be. But instead we get this, and this. Now I'm not saying it has to be all dark, all gloom all the time. I get the point that you can't feel the lows without experiencing the highs, but my point is I don't think we've really experienced the lows yet. I think just by looking at the current map, you can see what I'm talking about. I took the map and divided it along the borders for each region. I then got how many pixels each area has and then calculated how much as a percentage those regions are of the map in total. These numbers aren't completely perfect as there are some areas underground, etc., but I think they're a decent representation. Currently, we have two distinct regions which really lean into the cataclysmic post-apocalyptic vibes we were promised, Northfall Barrens and the port city of Guizhou, but in total they add up to just less than 30% of the explorable area as a whole. And this area is supposed to be the frontier standing guard against the looming tacit discord crisis. Jinzhou is also the most recently established city too, so we can reasonably assume that all the other areas in this world are bigger, more fortified, and therefore even more peaceful than this, right? Just our first glimpse at Rinascita and it already has everyone calling it Fontaine. It's bright, vibrant, colourful, peaceful, and even has tacit discords that don't seem to be a threat. If I wanted to play Genshin, I'd go and play... Well, I'd never really want to play Genshin, let's just get that first out. Let's just first. But if I did want to play Genshin, I'd go play Genshin. I really hope this is a fake out. Like I said, I get the argument of experiencing the lows to really further appreciate the highs, but personally I think it's just a little too early for Rinascita. We really should have gone to the New Federation first. Calculia is waiting for his story quest after all, but I don't know. We'll just have to find out what Rinascita is actually like when it drops in January. Also, for those interested in my pull priority, Zani, Carlotta, Brandt, Phoebe, Rokia, whatever her name is. In that order. Fight me. I know they got feedback in the CBT to make the world more bright and vibrant, I get that. But I didn't want them to make it any less destroyed, you know? I want to see more ruined cityscapes, more destroyed villages, more visual storytelling to show us a world destroyed by these cataclysmic events, and make them visually amazing at the same time. It has been done before, but right now there's just a bunch of open fields and clear mountains, which would be fine if they had more things to do out there, but after you've collected all the supply chests and title heritages, there's not much else left. And even when there is stuff to do, it's really difficult to find. I mean, just look at this area. Can you see the challenge point? It's right there. Duh. Here's an idea, Kuro. On top of the obvious of adding more challenges, puzzles, quests, overworld minigames, etc., how about you make those title heritages reset every couple of weeks or something? This would keep the overworld at least looking full of things to do, and make the mobs guarding them a lot stronger too. Of course, I would love more asteroid, I mean, wouldn't we all? But I know that would actually break the game and they would make Neuron literally zero money. Instead, how about making these drop a bunch of materials? Bell poppies, lantern berries, whispering cores, exile rings, etc. Kind of like a smaller version of the new feature in Elusive Realm. And like I said, make the mobs harder. How about you make all the enemies of these newly reset title heritages also all be elite enemies? I think that would be a really cool idea because right now everything dies within the first couple of seconds anyway. Actually make us work for those rewards to make us feel like we're in a cutthroat post-apocalypse, you know? Because right now the only thing we have to remind us that we're in some kind of apocalypse are the tacit discords walking around. On that note, it's all well and good giving us 15 different ways to get echoes, but they're practically useless if I can't level them. Several times already I've maxed out capacity in my inventory for these things because I have literally hundreds. I'm just sitting on them like smog thinking, nah, I can't get rid of this one, it's got the right main stat, it might give me god rolls, you don't know. No, I definitely can't get rid of that one. I have so many in my inventory I actually think, fuck it, let's just scrap them all. But if I did that and tried to scrap even all 2,000 echoes in my inbox, I would get a grand total of jack fucking shit. Come on, man, I worked hard for these echoes. And to say that I can't use them for literally anything is just plain ridiculous. Allow us to use the unleveled echoes as XP fodder. Well, if your inventory is filled up, you have a management issue, don't you? No, I have an echo experience issue. My bag is filled primarily with echoes that I'm sitting on waiting to see if I can roll them. Currently, the only real way to get echo experience is from tacit fields. So let's take a look at that, shall we? This is how much echo experience each sealed tube gives. This is how much experience is needed to max a gold echo to level 25. This is how many sealed tubes of each type you need to do that. On your average run of a tacit field at Soul Phase 8, you get a total of 4 advanced sealed tubes and 3 premium sealed tubes, as well as about 5 new echoes. So the total experience gained per run is 23,000. If you use all of your your wave plates doing nothing but tacit fields, you get a total of 92,000. 92,000 is a lot less than 142,600, isn't it? The cost per wave plate is 383.3, so you would need a total of 372 wave plates to max one singular echo. With RNG being a bigger bitch than my 3rd grade math teacher, I could get no usable echoes, or all 5 could be worth saving to try and roll on. But the fact of the matter is, when you're not even earning enough experience in the tacit field to level even one echo, that's not nearly enough. And that's assuming that the subsets of the echo are good in the first place. I'm not asking for enough experience so I can keep re-rolling to get that perfect echo with the perfect substats so I can min-max it as well. No, that's not what I'm saying. I just want enough echo experience so I can level one echo with somewhat decent substats. That's why so many people are constantly in dungeons in games like WoW, Path of Exile, etc. to get drops with better stats. If anything, the absolute futility of RNG in combination with how difficult it is to level echoes up is more of a deterrent for players who just can't be bothered with that insane level of grind for such little reward anymore. And no, these kinds of artifact systems aren't a staple of gacha games. Monster Strike, Puzzle and Dragons, Fate Grand Order, Nikkei, Arknights, Path to Nowhere, even Kuro's very own Punishing Grey Raven, all of these games do not have this system. But that would break the game. You could farm infinitely. RNG is still a thing, you know. Even if I infinitely roll an echo, I could still get dog shit stats every time. And I need to get 5 of these just for one set for one character. And there are 25 characters right now. And some characters benefit from different sets with different subsets, let alone all the new characters, new echo sets to come in the future. Yeah, no, sorry, that just doesn't hold water for me as a significant argument in any game. I hate the RNG system, but whatever. Just let me use these echoes for XP. They're absolutely useless right now. They're not useless. You can batch merge them for more echoes. Are you not listening to me? I don't need more fucking echoes. I need the experience to level them, goddammit. Tacit fields cost too much, don't drop nearly enough experience, and oh look, more echoes I can't level. Christ! Okay, now this is criticism not for the game itself, but more for Kuro Games as a developer. Okay, Kuro. What the hell are you doing? You started your very first special broadcast with very blatant typos. You misspelled headphones as headphones. How do you even do that? Just writing this script, I had to force my spell check to type it wrong because it kept fixing it for me. Seriously, just put it into a Google Doc and press F7. Some of these typos were pretty funny though, I've got to admit. Cooming soon? Is that another word for edging? Luckily, these were just little slip-ups, little whoopsies even. Nothing too severe, right? For everyone in EN? No, just mortifer eating fudge, I guess. But for us in Japan, we had an absolute fiasco with the Jian weapon banner. The TLDR is, the description was wrong on what the weapon does, so many people who spent money to pull for it felt ripped off. The backlash was so bad, it almost killed Wuthering Waves over here in Japan. And here's what happened. The translation for this weapon was wrong. JP got angry. They said they'd refund everyone for the pulls. JP was happy. They leaked the email addresses of everyone who applied for the refund. JP got angry again. They then gave 10,000 yen as compensation. JP was happy. They then didn't refund the pulls and said, go talk to your credit card company. JP got angry. Again, all in the space of just a few days. From the outside, I felt like I was watching Sideshow Bob step on the rakes. Anyway, my point is that these little things were still big enough to drive away many new interested players who now might not even give it another shot for years to come. Damn it, typo. But having said all this, does that mean I hate Wuthering Waves? No, I never said it was a perfect game, but there's a lot of stuff I don't like. I think the length of this video is enough evidence to prove that. But in the end, I still really enjoy it. The combat is fun, the characters look great, the story isn't the strongest, but they tell it in an interesting way, and this is enough for me. For now, anyway. To me, Wuthering Waves is like my favorite cousin. I love it when they come over to visit, but I just wish they would stop picking their nose at the fucking dinner table. Bobby, I love you, man, but you are 2 knuckles deep into your own nasal cavity right now. Are you trying to give yourself a lobotomy? Are you auditioning to be the next Yang Yang? That being said, these aren't all the things I hate about Wuthering Waves. I could go longer into my particular issues with the Shokipa story and the Camellia story, but I think this video has gone on long enough as it is. Oh, Jesus Christ. But if you do want to hear more about what I think about those particular stories on their own, then feel free to let me know down in the comment section below. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because that greatly supports the channel. And yes, I do also look forward to seeing all your hate comments. So until next time, I will see you in the next video. Peace.